How childhood adversity fuels generational trauma and ways to heal. Discover how childhood adversity impacts family trauma and learn about breaking cycles of inherited trauma with modern tools and insights. Why childhood adversity echoes through generations. You ever wonder why sometimes it feels like the struggles you're facing aren't just your own, but also some heavy stuff passed down from way before you were even born? Like your family has this invisible emotional baggage that just keeps getting handed off like a weird heirloom? That's the thing with childhood adversity. It doesn't just affect the child who lived it. It can ripple through generations, creating what experts call intergenerational trauma or ancestral trauma. When we talk about childhood adversity, we're looking at tough experiences during those early formative years. Things like neglect, abuse, loss, or living in constant stress. The kicker is that these experiences don't just stay locked up in that one person's history. Instead, they get woven into the family fabric and influence how future generations behave, feel, and even physically respond to stress. Think of it this way. Trauma isn't always about just remembering a bad event. It can change how our bodies and brains function, literally reshaping our biology in a way that might be passed down through what's called inherited trauma or family trauma. The science behind this is fascinating. Epigenetics, how our experiences can affect gene expression, plays a big role in this process. Trauma can switch on certain genes that influence stress responses, emotional regulation, and vulnerability to mental health issues. So, children of trauma survivors might inherit a heightened sensitivity to stress without having endured the original trauma themselves. Now, this pattern goes beyond just one generation. You might hear terms like transgenerational trauma or multi-generational trauma. These describe how trauma echoes through several generations, like a pattern that repeats itself unless consciously interrupted. It's the reason why families might have repeated cycles of addiction, violence, or emotional detachment. The trauma becomes embedded in family stories, behaviors, and even cultural norms. So how do we break free from this cycle? Recognizing that this trauma exists is the first big step. But it's not enough just to know it's there. We also need tools and strategies to rewrite these emotional patterns. That's where a really insightful resource comes in: the generational algorithm. This book does an incredible job unpacking how these inherited emotional patterns work and offers practical steps to help families and individuals heal and change their legacy for the better. If you've ever felt weighed down by invisible family burdens or noticed patterns repeating in your life that you just can't seem to shake, buy The Generational Algorithm now on Amazon. It can be a game changer in understanding and transforming the emotional inheritance you didn't even know you had. At the end of the day, childhood adversity doesn't have to be the story that defines your family forever. With awareness and the right approach, we can shift the patterns and create a new emotional landscape for ourselves and future generations. It's about reclaiming your power from what was once thought to be unchangeable and living a more mindful, free, and healthier life. So next time you think about your family history, try to look at it not just as a list of events or things that happened, but as a living emotional system that can be healed and transformed. The past whispers, sure, but it doesn't have to shout through the generations.